All right, we are recording in session 43, the 44th session, because we started at 0. And yeah, this is the final session of this particular little adventure. Um, so this is going to be a much more chill thing. That we're not going to have a lot of challenges to overcome, but I do want to spend the time giving you guys sort of the epilogue and finding out what comes next for your characters. Um, and I want to start. I want to start way down in the underground where you guys are, where we left off last session. Last session was a doozy. Quite a lot happened. Um, you went from confronting Sappers about his bizarre, very toxic kind of help, his racist sort of "I know what's best for you" mentality, um, and then you when Miss Mabel showed up, you got to see the real Sappers come out as he threatened to kill people, um, and then horrifically you saw Miss Mabel die. Thank goodness it didn't stick. It was just some play acting on her part, but the trick worked. Sappers converted into a tree with no sunlight to feed it. You were able to stop the roots from growing, and then eventually the cavalry arrived and crashed a boat into Sappers, and Bax dealt the finishing blow, splitting the what was left of the wood into fragments, splinters, and there was already fire in the area. So, yeah, Sappers is ash, no more. Um, it's been revealed Miss Maybell was she was play acting as a way to induce Sappers into that state because she had uh, given him books that she had forged with false information about how trolls behave to sort of trick him into that vulnerability. And and now it seems like things are okay. Delterra has reverted the curse. Um, Everybody's got their souls back except for the few people who died, which is unfortunate. Um, and you kids are about to go back up with the few adults that are here, which is Miss Maybell, Delterra, Mrs. Burtail, and Gallista. And you guys are gonna head back up and explain to the people what happened. But before we do, I want to check in with each character and see, like, what did they just experience, and how are they feeling? What's their current emotional state? Um, Jackie, do you want to go first with Bax? Who got the killing blow?
I mean, upon finding out that Miss Mabel is fine, absolutely triumphant.
The work of heroes, right?
Yeah, indeed.
What about
Although, you know, in the back of Bax's mind, definitely thinking about the Crimson Guard soldiers that were killed, because they will not be gotten back.
and what of Leica?
I mean, impressed, pretty stoked on their barding, their first real barding adventure. You know,
Yeah, got
definitely
to
looking at the
really flex
potential
at the end
future.
there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Cool. And then of course Trumpy, the investigator. Trumpy may not have
Hmm.
gotten a lot of hits in, but Trumpy was indirectly responsible for a lot of the advantages you guys had. How's Trumpy feeling about that? Is Trumpy wishing that he got in some bigger hits, or is Trumpy satisfied with being a
I
support
think
character?
Trumpy's satisfied with the support. You know, looking after such a stressful time, is really enjoying the thought of maybe setting up something with their siblings. You know, going forward into the future, maybe really do give this investigation and crime fighting or crime investigation work a real try uh, as a group.
Awesome. Ed, are you with us?
Yeah.
What is Mari feeling in this moment of triumph?
I'm not sure. She's not really clear. while this was happening. Some bits of responsibility for partially causing this, I think. Otherwise, mostly she's feeling claustrophobic.
Mari was the first person to recognize that the troll was not behaving as a troll. Is she feeling somewhat vindicated in how everything turned out from that?
Yeah, yeah.
Or does she feel like some anger, like if you only listened to me, this could have been avoided?
Well, a lot of people got hurt over a non.
How's Reggie feeling about all of this?
Is Reggie down there or is he up top?
Reggie's down there. Reggie is down there with the glove that was
Oh,
controlling the
right.
Petra soldier.
Reggie's eager to get back to a desk and business stuff and not have to deal with this again.
Awesome. And, of course, ever excitable Shari, who got to pilot the boat directly into the bad guy. How is Shari feeling at this moment?
And she feels like she just crashed a boat and do a thing, so she feels pretty good. She feels as if she was a good captain of a good boat.
Got that post-successful voyage energy going, right?
I hope it's a very "did you guys see that" kind of energy.
Kristen, how is Francis feeling right now?
This has really sealed Francis's desire to get into crime investigations and solving crimes and just stopping bad people. So he's just feeling excited and vindicated and ready to go start our little detective agency.
Awesome. And Andre, who had an interesting perspective on all of this, getting weird information through the Moon King. How is Andre viewing all of this? Is it more dispassionate the way the Moon King sees things, or is Andre feeling connected to these events?
I think he's pretty disconnected from it, in fact, and I think he would actually kind of feel a bit of a pull to like the portals that created the bridge. So like a pull towards the moon.
Okay.
Like almost as though he's like keeps looking and he's just distracted by that and kind of is like looking into the orchard through the portals and like not as interested in what's going on here.
There is two things. One of them is Delterra is now fully operational and can make a bridge out of just magic, so you don't need to keep the portals up anymore. On the flip side of that, there is nobody capable of stopping you from just walking through one and closing them behind you if you want to.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that, so I'm inclined to do that. I just think it would be very interesting if Henri just like quietly just walks off into the portals and then closes them and disappears.
It will mean missing out on everything else that's going on, but that is like that. None of the adults are in a position right now to stop Henri. Only Henri can make that decision. Do you want to see how it plays out, or are you confident now that you could get to the moon if you wanted to whenever you want?
Yeah, so he probably could create these portals again and make his way there.
You've done it once now, and it was an accident, but now that you've done it, you know the steps.
Yeah, I think that he still has some ties to the people here, his companions. So maybe it makes sense that he just kind of puts that in the back of his mind is like, I can go back there anytime I want now. So I'm gonna stick it out here and see what's next at the orphanage.
I do want to move on to your next character, but really quickly, of the people that are here, who would you say are maybe like the one or two most important ties that Henri has to this group?
Just a second. Let me look at the character list. I'm not sure. Henri was kind of a loner. maybe Glup. I feel like Glup was in the Thieves Guild, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be one that he had some level of ties to through like our collaborations there.
Okay.
I think that might be it. He was like pretty. He was a loner.
And what about Zara?
So I think
how's Zara feeling in this moment?
Zara took a decent amount of damage, so to speak, in like transferring taxes. So I think she's kind of just like happy that we won, but also really wants to take a nap.
She output a lot of magic, as I recall.
Yeah, she's kind of just exhausted. So she's like, like a kid when they're like, so that you can tell they need to go to sleep, but they just keep their eyes open. Like they're like trying to stay awake, but they're like, you can tell that like all they want to do is go to sleep.
It's not even noon yet, and everybody really needs a nap. Tice, let's talk about Elros. What is Elros feeling in this moment? Elros had a game-saving play in the middle of all that.
Yeah. It feels like a little exhilarating being tossed by Galista. That was pretty awesome. Also being able to like help magic with her, but he feels a real deep pity towards Sappers because like he had so much potential for such a good idea as like wanting to help other people, but he just had the wrong like sort of a viewpoint. Like he would be able to say more about like his like connected between the two elves, that he might have been able to do more. Because after all, he knows that sad fact that like all these people around him, probably a bunch of them are gonna like he's gonna live, like he's gonna see them all die at some point.
Yeah. A lot of them before you finish becoming an actual adult. Yeah. Maybe there's something to the core mission of that society, even if this particular agent's missions were deeply misguided. How is Glup feeling? Glup also had a game-saving play.
He's currently seeing a bit of dollar eyes as he's like figuring out like his stuff for like the help funding certain private eye detective. Also, when people weren't looking, he had two more empty vials, and now there's like two spots in the ash, just like little scooped out, whatever, and now they're in the back of his pocket because those could be worth something.
They could be. While scooping that, he would have noticed that Miss Mabel is also gathering the ash. She is trying to gather all of it, but you managed to get a couple vials before she notices.
Quick point of order: do we not have parts of troll parts from disabling various pillars? Have those been dispatched?
You do. You have the amber orbs that Sappers was using.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that we should hand those over to Del Terra for proper disposal. Assuming that they can regenerate him.
Yeah, Del Terra will take them into custody. She might be forced to turn them over to King Violothan, but yeah, that's adult stuff that need not concern the kids.
I don't want that to be my jurisdiction. Yeah, exactly. That's not my problem.
Yeah. Anyway, they have to get the fourth one from the last area.
Yeah, the fourth one is already in the vaults of the royal palace. So, yeah, but yeah, that's a good call. So, Del Terra will take possession of those and secure them. Last thing you need is for some new sappers to grow out of one of those. How is Kyleel feeling in all of this? I know that the spell hit really close to home with Kyleel as something that his parents specifically sent him to Celebre to avoid.
Yeah, he's wondering exactly if one day he will have to go back to his home to confront this sort of idea as well. Like, because if we're able to stop it here, maybe he's able to go back home and stop it more people losing their souls because of this.
Okay, so he's viewing this as like almost a prototype of what he might be able to do for his own people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Troy, how is Chrysalisar feeling in all of this? I want to, this doesn't have to be something Chrysalisar is paying attention to, but I do want to highlight Chrysalisar split the difference between magic training and martial training. And the magical training, and it really was just dice rolls, but the magical training didn't play as hard as some of the pure mages did. How's Chrysalisar feeling about his performance in this?
Well, he also, I think, pretty much realized it, mid-fight, that I can do way more in combat, in melee combat, than I can do with my magic. So, I don't know. I feel like now he's gonna be torn between whether, he spent too much time, weapons training, or there's so much more potential to unlock in magic, and he needs to spend more time there. That's probably where he'll head.
Right on.
He has a good basis. Now he knows he's physically capable. He needs to be more magically capable.
How is Kofric feeling in this moment? Kofric did some nice improvised alchemy to shut down one of those roots.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know what the word would be. Accomplished or headed down the right path. However you phrase that, he's doing what he wants to do, and so he needs to do more with. I mean, the whole experience was doing everything. Who would have thought the dwarf was going to be the one to climb the tower? He did it.
But it worked.
So he either needs to take up artistry so he can show people what to do, or he needs to double down on just being way better at all the engineering stuff and the alchemical stuff. Craftsman.
A lot of surprising things worked out in your favor in this. You took not the combat characters into the combat situation, and it panned out really well. So, yeah. And of course, Mina. Now, Mina's boat just got wrecked, but Mina's boat was also a unprecedented success. How is Mina feeling in this moment? What mix of emotions is going on, seeing the wreckage of the boat, but the victory it caused at the same time?
Or she's just taking notes on how to make a better boat.
2.0 is going to be amazing.
Yeah, 2.0 wouldn't have broken apart. 2.0 would have done the final blow and still been intact at the end. And then you just ride it out.
I'm picturing 2.0 has like a buzzsaw in the front for crashing into trees, and then little crab legs so it can scuttle back to the water.
Just writing that down.
It's just going to get insane, I'm sure.
She needs to go talk to the goblin. Diplomat, and just how can I adapt all of this?
Oh no. 2.0 is not going to be a boat, it's going to be a goat. And Vivian, how is Araxi feeling about all this? Araxi always kind of distanced herself from being related to the city, but was just part of an incredibly critical save the city moment, and contributed quite a lot with her marksmanship in that. How is she feeling about all this?
Shrug mercenary work, I guess. I doubt that Araxi's going to get paid like mercenary work. Usually you have to accept that beforehand. But while Araxi might not like the city, Araxi does like the orphanage and some of the people there, and would be sad if they were forever, trapped, have 10% of their souls trapped in a wall. So feels all right. Not especially enthused about all the ceremony that's going to happen later.
And there will be ceremony. You can already see Miss Maybell like straightening up her outfit to get ready, and Delterra just sighing and like readying herself to not have to look comfortable. She's gonna have to try and scavenge some magic to get her armor back on, so she will look presentable, as right now she's basically hobbling around on crutches.
Araxi probably has because Araxi took some health damage earlier, probably has a scar that has matted blood and stuff, and just doesn't care, is just leaving it there.
Now you've got that pirate look. Nest was almost gave away the game, but then she dragged Miss Maybell to safety, which was a good move considering some of the area effect stuff going on. How is Nest feeling in this moment of triumph?
Impressed by Miss Mabel for how convincing it was, where even Nest, knowing that it was probably fake, knowing Miss Mabel well enough to know that Miss Mabel could fake it, still couldn't determine until Miss Mabel stood up whether she was alive or dead. Nest is a Celebra through and through. Her parents were Crimson Guard, so...
And Nest has been all along the poster child of this entire orphanage program, so is Nest ready to go face the crowds?
Nest is a little tired, but yeah, absolutely.
And last but possibly loudest, Wampy.
Well, for once, Wampy is quiet because Wampy is making plants in the water here to mark the area as has a little bit of responsibility, but probably less responsibility than Wampy should be feeling for this. Having let sappers out of the staff against the advice of the rest of the group. But Wampy also kind of views this as a more right end for sappers than being trapped in a staff and forced to do other people's bidding. And probably would like to make a pilgrimage to Pelonia again and talk with her after this is all over.
Awesome. Well, the children are taken up through the sewers. Some of them under their own power, some of them with some assistance, as there's some rope climbing and things to do. Obviously, the Anu children just go up. But some of the others need some assistance. But everybody comes out into the bright light of, and it's not even noon. It's maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And the market is full of people, bleary-eyed people that are just coming out of their homes, guided somehow by some arrangement of barricades and things into the market. And it dawns on possibly some of you that Sappers had intended for things to go right, and for the citizens to wake up and come out, and for him to give a little presentation on the wonderful things he'd just done for them. There is a stage already set up in the middle of the market square, and traffic is being sort of directed into it by things he had set up the previous day. And so a large number of people are gathering in a crowd. But the official nature of Delterra and the just nobody wants to mess with Gallista kind of situation means that you guys get over to an area just like behind the raised stage platform where some other officials and guild leaders are gathering. And most of them at first are asking what the hell is going on, but then the information starts spreading through the command chains pretty quickly. Within an hour, the king is there, ready to get up and give a speech to the gathered people. You see he's brought along with him a metalsmith that's repairing some like horrendous damage that happened to his crown during the battle that he had with that kaiju creature that you guys decided to give a complete pass to. This is, I think, the first time a lot of you have seen the king, although maybe Nest, you might have seen him at some official ceremonies and stuff. But Violethan, much like all of you guys, just kind of looks tired. He's not wearing, like, glorious, expensive robes. He's wearing practical leathers. He still has his giant greatsword strapped to his back, like, as if shit could go down at any moment. He is accompanied by one of his dogs. You don't know where the other one is. You know, he's got two, but one of his dogs is with him. These are sometimes described as hellhounds, as they occasionally breathe fire. And they're giant. And he is talking with the guild leadership of the more important guilds. They're discussing various things of what's going on, and then eventually they usher everybody up on the stage. Speeches are given. The crowd cheers that they've been saved by these by the brave wizards of the university. And Delterra does take a moment and says, we could not have done it without the efforts of these children, and there's some applause and definitely like some deference to you guys for like not running. It's like when these children found out that by what she describes as a glitch, that by a glitch in the wizard's magic, these children have been spared, but instead of running, they behaved like true Celebrans and came to the university and helped us to stop this evil wizard from casting their spell. There's some other mistruths that get laid onto the crowd as well. Justicar, representing the Crimson Guard, says that we found evidence in a prison cell that this spell had been cast in collusion with Aphthis and with followers of their empty prince. Miss Maybell just kind of motions to all you guys, just stay quiet about that. It's politics.
Politics.
Yeah. In the end, the crowd cheers. You guys are heroes, kind of. And certainly there's a lot of attention on you. There are some people, though, who are not fooled by the political maneuverings. For one thing, the guild leaders all got the real story. And for another, the Petrish were there for it. So there are some agents that still recognize that you guys are the ones who legitimately saved the day. And then you go home. And outside the house, photographs are taken, people shaking hands. At the front stoops of the orphanage, all of you gather together with Miss Maybell and Mrs. Birdtail and Gallista and Cam and Coddle, and there's and Delterra shaking or posing as though shaking Miss Maybell's hand because they have to wait a while for the sketch artists to sketch it. Although one of the news agencies seems to be using some new kind of crystal ball recording device that seems very expensive and very modern.
It would be cool that they give you like a snow globe with the scene printed out in 3D you can look at, or just a glass sphere where the image is superimposed inside of it.
That'd be really cool.
Kind of like a picture, but not, like a cool 3D picture.
Is the reporter that Araxi spoke to back during the trial one of the ones present here?
No, but their agency
Alright.
has an artist here, so you could
Okay.
send a message to them easily. Yeah.
Araxi will send a message about having the full story of what actually happened.
Excellent. And that night, there's a party. You guys all get a nice nap. You get to, by noon, like you're all conked out. But you wake up in the afternoon, and Little Oakbrine is just abuzz with activity. Grammy is throwing the biggest party. It's filling the street. She's got tables set up all across the street in front of the Little Oakbrine area. And she's hired extra staff and gotten extra food, and it's just a big to-do. The area is roped off, special invitation only, because there's a lot of city bigwigs at this party, in addition to sort of the members of your specific guilds. So, we're gonna go through sort of the list here of what's going on with everybody at the party. And I'm just going to open it up and say, who wants to go first?
You see, like at the entrance, you see like a little like stand there with a bunch of coats up on the just laying up there, and just like Glup is like offering to take their coats for like a certain amount of fee money. He's there with his mentor.
Pinkle highly approves. Yeah. You know what? Let's get the triplets together, because you guys have the possibility of forming this private investigation agency. And I'm
going to assume Reggie's by our side so that we can ask the relevant agencies for proper licensure, business licenses, property deeds to operate out of wherever we need to, etc.
Yeah, I'm sure. Reggie, absolutely. Or we can go over that in a bit. But you want to bring in Reggie? Do you also want to bring in Glup, who I know has offered to finance your initial setup?
I can confirm with my triplets. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm sure we'll need money, so it doesn't hurt. We're going to need to buy recording devices, and just there's all sorts of things that money can help with. What do you think?
Reggie, do you want to just help them get started, or do you want to be a part of that organization?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in helping start the sort of budding business.
You can be part of our fraud division.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know if like this party has a lot of important people from town, right?
It does. And you're all about to be approached by various people during the course of this evening.
Got it. I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to build connections, basically. I mean, maybe that's just going to happen inherently, but like to focus on like, we're using this as a working dinner where we're like schmoozing with the specific people that will be most beneficial for us for our new agency.
Yeah, I think Whoppy in particular is just sitting down at like bigwig tables like Whoppy belongs. With the confidence that Whoppy has always gone towards bigwigs with here. And, talking up how like the triplets have already contributed so much to Celebrid Society, and how they're forming up a detective agency, or going through a legal process right now. And, if you have stuff that you might need, well, we're going to be in business.
Wampy, as you move from a bit higher up to higher up, you suddenly find yourself face to face with a familiar face. It's the priestess of Inui from the moon. The one who helped you with the staff has come to this party, and is at a table with Willika's mother, East Wind, and they're chatting about druid things, and they see you and they motion you up, and
Well,
East Wind
absolutely.
gives a heartfelt apology for not believing in you when you were doing investigations in Oakbrine and not studying harder the events that were going on. She admits she has a lot to learn, and has said that she's going to go north to the Northern Druid Enclave that you guys visited previously, and spend some time there, and has asked if you would like to travel north with her, since you're now fully a druid. The other one, on the other hand, is like, before you think about that, consider visiting us on the moon. There's a lot that we can teach you about celestial druidism that is somewhat divorced from the specific biome type druidism that a lot of others practice. How is Wampy feeling about applying some studies to this? It would mean taking time away from your private investigation business with your triplets, but it would also make you a stronger druid.
It would.
The flip side, though, is that if you're not spending time in the city regularly, then the city is not going to really adapt to having a shape-shifting druid as a potential private investigator, a potential investigator of crimes. You bring a lot of skills to that realm that would only be there occasionally when you're in town. Whereas if you're here all the time, then it becomes a regular thing that, like, careful about committing a crime if there's a falcon in the sky.
Yeah.
It might be better to have as a ace in our sleeve. Something that people don't account for. Although it's counter to our ethos.
The triplets stick together, right? And
But we're growing up. And
they are
sometimes,
growing
and
up.
sometimes that's part of it, is going your own way. But it's up to Wampy.
And Wampy, I think, has always been the triplet that has stretched the stick together the most, I think. Because Wampy, in some ways, views going out alone as being protective of their triplets and sticking together with them as that. As a few adventures held. And Wampy really likes traveling and seeing new things as well. So what Wampy is going to do is Wampy is going to tentatively agree to travel to the Northern Forest. Wampy is also interested in the moon. What Wampy says, I'm sure I'll see you there, but I already know people in the Northern Forest. Wampy would like to travel there too. But before Wampy goes, Wampy is going to take the time to refine essentially a permanent. And my internet cut at the perfect time again. Wampy is going to take the time to try and refine, possibly with the druid's help, a always up whisper on the wind, akin to the conference call that Wampy created, with their siblings. So Wampy will always be there, even if Wampy's not there. And Wampy's a falcon. A falcon can get places quick.
All right. That covers Wampy. Francis. It's a work dinner, but everybody's here, and after a while, you start finding that more and more of the mage-type visitors are coming over to visit you, including Delterra, who, is very, very pleased that one of her students performed so well. Necromancy isn't her specialty, but magic is magic, and you utilized it very well. But there are some people that are specialized in necromancy. And in particular, there is a lich that is living in Einar right now with the elves, that is on fairly friendly terms with Celebre, and you may find yourself encountering them again. I think you met them briefly.
Yeah, they would have been the one that came to town momentarily. I guess they're not in town anymore.
Yeah, they came to help you guys figure out the soul merging with sappers, and then they went back again. But a representative of theirs is here, and they're interested in your studies if you want to continue them. They're not interested in them in the way that they don't think you have much to offer them. But they have the genuine teacher mode where if there's a promising student, they want that student to be successful. So if you decide that you'd like to spend some time away from your siblings and go on a little adventure to Einar and study necromancy with a literal 10,000-year-old lich who was present when the cataclysm that sank the Elven continent happened and may have been slightly responsible, then that is an option that Francis has. It will mean you're spending some time away from the city, and there are some Crimson Justicars that are very interested in you not leaving the city, because they would like the use of necromancy to interrogate deceased suspects, as well as allow, potentially, they're still arguing with the various high-ups of the guilds, but they would potentially like to start allowing for the spirits of the deceased to testify against their murderers at trials.
I have a question. Since they're already dead, there's not really like a time limit in terms of talking to them, you know? I'm sure trials have their own timeline, of course, but
yeah, and the spells that are powering your ability to talk to them may have time limits, but the souls generally don't, unless bad things are happening to the souls. There is this sort of concern, and some of the pushback is coming from souls could lie to about what happened to them to achieve vendettas. Also, potentially necromancers could alter or manipulate souls to give false testimonies. And there's a lot of it's a box of problems they're not sure they want to open up. But with Francis being present in the city full time, that is a box they might have to open up. On the other hand, if Francis is spending a lot of time studying in Einar and learning the really powerful necromancy stuff, then it won't be as big a concern. Every now and then, a ghost will be interrogated when Francis is in town, but it won't be a huge change to the way crime and punishment happens.
So I think that while Francis definitely wants to help get this business off the ground, he is pretty certain that if he learns more advanced necromancy, that could come in handy longer term. So it's like an investment in the future. And with Wampy having the whisper on the wind, we can still kind of stay connected. It's like his he's gonna go away for school and then he'll be back. So I think that's the route he's going to go, and he trusts, the other two triplets, Reggie and Glup, to keep the business rolling while he's away.
It's just going to be Trumpy.
Oh yeah, Wampy's going to be off flying through the wind. So Trumpy, you think you got this under control while we're away? I mean, we honestly all could disband and then come back together.
I have raw investigative prowess. But
Trumpy does have raw investigative prowess.
It might just be something we reconsider when we've all had a chance to grow as individuals and come back together.
This actually, us separating might force Trompy to be even better of an investigator because you're not going to have like the additional power of the other two triplets. So by the time we come back, Trompy's just going to be like ridiculously powerful investigator.
At least initially, Whoppy is only like a day's trip away with communication. Now, what happens after Whoppy's trip to Northern Forest, who knows? But Whoppy is not going across a continent or whatever. Whoppy is... We made this trip in a day with Lorpin, right?
Yeah, that was basically like a little park at the southern edge of the Northern Forest.
Yeah.
The Northern Forest itself is huge and goes all the way to the Troll Mountains. And there's a lot of space for you to learn and play out there. But there is this sort of public park area right at the southern edge, right? Like, less than a day outside the city.
Yeah, Whoppy will not be so far away as to not be able to come back to the city, is what I'm saying. Particularly if Whoppy just travels in falcon form.
And the Inarians know the spell Teleport, so they can probably get you back, or even teach you how to get yourself back in an emergency if you become powerful enough. Trompy is an excellent investigator. Trompy is also an excellent bookkeeper and just general, like, scholastic knowledge person, right? And Trompy's not the only one that knows this. The Applied Thaumaturgy Guild, the guild leader, not high-ups, not like important guild officers, but the guild leader meets you, Trompy, at this dinner and shakes your hand and sits you down at a table for a talk and says, the Applied Thaumaturgy Guild is looking to expand. We know that other guilds have expanded into other cities successfully, and they're still Celebran guilds. The Rights and Properties Guild deals with a lot of trade in the colonies, and the Mining Cooperative, though they're no longer a recognized guild, did a lot of good guild work in Baron. We are thinking of setting up in another city a branch office, but the only city that really seems like a reasonable place for us to set up is Garrison. It's a very long way away. We are not going to be able to have the kind of instant communication for leadership here to take control of it. We need somebody there that can, from the ground up, build a guild that functions as the Applied Thaumaturgy Guild, but in Garrison. And normally we would turn to an experienced adult, but you have currently significant amounts of fame, which can be useful. If you're interested, we will arrange for you to go there. We will send adults with you. We're not going to send a child to Garrison, but and maybe you'll spend a year or so getting ramped up here. But Trompy, how would you like to run the Garrison branch of the Applied Thaumaturgy Guild?
I'm just going to say as a player, just so you know, this is absolutely fucking not Trompy's vibe at all. They don't want to be a bureaucrat. They want to be a scholar. They have zero interest at all in like running a guild branch per se. Like they would much rather have their nose inside of a book than inside of a accounting form or a manifest or anything like that.
That's a perfectly valid answer for this. Garrison is a city built on scholarship, which is why it is the guild's choice for it. The other,
I mean, is that where Sigur's shit is? Ah, fuck. That makes it significantly more attractive to Trompy. But is the reality that I'm going to be a figurehead and I get to fuck off and do my
No,
Trompy's
there'll
going to
be an adult that's the figurehead. You're the talent. You get to call the shots while somebody else has to execute your orders.
What if I would literally rather apprentice under Sigur than do that? If I'm going to go all the way to Garrison.
And Sigur is unfortunately not at this party to make offers like that to you. But the offer is this might be just one way you get there, and then you can abandon the guild and join Sigurd. Like, but unlike the other two, this offer kind of ruins any opportunity you would have to run your PI. Garethan is too far away for you to remotely run the agency.
Yeah, the dream of running our own private investigation firm would end here unless we decide to reconsider it in our adulthood after we've all...
Do we have any characters from Talus?
In the orphanage?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, that's fair. So they're optimistic that they can expand into a society that hates mage.
I think like it's feasible that the triplets could go off, separate, kind of have our college years, going down the paths we want to go, and then potentially rejoin later and do the PI firm like when we're adults, if we want, or just see where things go with the characters from there.
Yeah. Whoppy also has a really good calligraphy set if you want to just write a letter to Sigurd.
I mean, I'm definitely taking advantage of that when I get there. I'm just gonna, like, have somebody deliver it, and then I will be there if, and hoping I receive a reply. I don't know. Like, genuinely, Trompy's not that interested in, like, running a guild, per se, because they are a scholar. I don't know how much scholarship can be done as an administrator. You know what I mean?
As the head of the branch, as much as you want, because you can delegate everything else to somebody else.
It does have the best library in the West, outside of, or the best available library in the West.
And Trompy would know this. I look wistfully off at my siblings who are eagerly accepting really wonderful offers that help them pursue their goals, and in a way, we're sticking together by going apart because we're all choosing the same choice, which is to grow separately from each other for a little while. And so, I guess I'll accept, with my own personal desires, not... I have ulterior motives. It's a stepping stone for me.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, he's happy you've accepted and is gonna deal with the paperwork in the morning. He got the thumbs up from
He got the
Trompy
yes
that he wanted. He's like, yeah, I got the yes. Okay. So I'll have my people call your people.
They literally talk to my mom, Miss Mabel. they're like, I'm like, this is my guardian. You can talk to her.
And actually, Whoppy is going to hand Trompy their calligraphy set and just say, take good care of it.
Trompy's gonna try and not cry fat Ghibli tears.
Yeah. It is a quality 4 calligraphy set with infinite ink, and I wrote forgery aid, which I think gives extra pips towards forging something.
Nice.
Yeah, it has a smaller pen that will copy the movements of the larger pen for doing detail work on forgeries.
Or if you want to write multiple letters to multiple people.
Yeah, you could just turn off the resizing, or turn the resizing dial all the way to the left, but yeah. Now, this may change things a bit for Reggie, but Reggie has some other offers coming up. The recent arrest of what was going to be the head of the new Craftsman's Guild has left a huge opening, and the Rights and Properties Guild recognizes this, but they also recognize, too, that Reggie has direct contact with Petrish, and has, like, a rapport with them. And so you're getting some pressure in this party coming from a couple of different angles that have nothing to do with setting up a private investigation firm. On the one hand, the craftsmen of the city really could use some guidance and help in setting up a new guild. And there's a situation here where Reggie could potentially be the head of a new guild that forms around craftsmen, making deals with the Petrish to get raw materials, and then creating stuff out of them. On the flip side of that, the Rights and Properties Guild would love to leverage Reggie's connections and most recent celebrity status. And so they would give you very high rankings. Obviously not your own guild, so to speak, but they're an established guild with a much bigger pocketbook that they could put your way towards enticing you into a position to use your status to control trade with the Petrish. So, how's Reggie feeling?
Reggie has no interest in being part of the system, so he's not planning on founding his own guild for sure. But he's interested in potentially continuing with the rights and properties, seeing how much influence and understanding he can get for future endeavors.
Okay, so you're going to accept a post within the Rights and Properties Guild of some status, basically like having your own firm, essentially, within the Rights and Properties Guild?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Alrighty. Let's go now to some of the other ones here. Tice. Glup is in an interesting... I'm sorry, not Glup. Elros. Elros is in an interesting situation. Your use of your hand on Delterra gave you some insight into some of her magic. And she got some insight into how your hand works. And here at the party, she has some bad news for you. She says, I ran some tests on the recorded experiences I had while interacting with you. And I am sorry to say that your ability to use your hand to double cast spells, to like have a spell effect trigger on you and someone else, is going to fade. At first I thought it was a weight issue, and that like with you and I both being small, that it would be very compatible. But the effect is fading, and I believe it is an age issue, not a weight issue. I think that as your brain develops, you're going to have a clearer sense of self-identity, which is going to inhibit spells from being tricked into thinking you are somebody else. But that doesn't mean that we can't recreate the effects. If you're willing to work with me on a co-authored paper, we could publish a paper and develop a spell that, similar to my Gloves of Lifting, we could create a spell that is Gloves of Copy Casting. Now, the choice here is, if Elros doesn't accept this, Elros can develop this on his own and take credit for it, and potentially make a lot of money for it. And there are members of the Applied Thaumaturgy Guild here that would give up anything to have access to something that useful to sell back to the mages, because they've owed the mages a lot of money for things that the mages have developed. They've been selling to the shipping part of Celebre. To have something they can sell back to mages would be amazing. They would start getting income coming in from a whole new revenue source. If you do this with Delterra, it will probably be a public domain spell. But you have a much better chance with her help of getting the spell more widely distributed and developing it in a shorter amount of time.
I think Elros will take the deal with Delterra, because like if like it's not gonna the spell itself won't get him recognized stuff, but like well, he'll get some recognition, but like this might branch off into other things that might he might be able to experiment with, like exactly maybe like because it's all about your knowing your like figuring out your like she said that was your identity and stuff. What isn't there like ways if that's all it is to be able to change like how spells affect the one? Is there potentially spells that you could create to be able to like to mimic this current effect that is happening all Elros, where you can cast a spell onto people? Where you basically sort of, I guess we would be mind linking or something, like where basically you believe that you and the other person are like the same person.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. If you develop it on your own, you'll get more money. If you develop it with Zelterra, you'll get less money but more reputation.
Yeah, and also probably learn a little bit more if I work with Zelterra.
Yeah, it's a good learning opportunity as well.
Yeah, because like not many, it's very rare to like be able to like have a Delterra as a tutor. Well, with helping with the spell.
I'm actually rethinking copycasting and as a term for it. I think spell sharing is actually a better term for it. So you cast a spell, but you share the spell's effect with somebody.
Yeah, and also he'll put in his mentor's name, Cam, as well. It's like since he's helped me with learning my magics and stuff, I would also like him to be part of it and like to get some recognition. So he's such an amazing dude.
Troy, Chryslisar is met at this party by a high-ranking member of the Crimson Guard. Actually, I think it may actually be the Crimson Justicar from the trial. But also trainer people from the Crimson Guard. And at the same time is meeting with some of the deans from the university. And they're having a discussion about your education. They are both kind of fascinated by this idea of somebody that is dual educated in both martial physical prowess and the esoteric elemental arts of magic. And they both have sort of competing ideas that are so similar and yet so different. The Crimson Guard are considering starting up a Crimson Battle Mage unit of martially trained Crimson Guard fighters that are given a little bit of magic training so they have some utility they can use on the field. And
you mean like a red mage?
A battle mage, yeah.
Like a red mage.
Like a red mage, yeah. Martial ability that's supplemented by some magic. On the flip side, the university is very interested in creating its own independent fighting force, essentially becoming kind of a mercenary group. But they want some security, some martial training for their mages. They want to have mages that are capable of defending themselves non-magically. And so there's, this idea of creating the Mage Guard for the SAU. Both of them want you to be the sort of premier example of this. You don't have to take either option, really. You can do your own thing. But that is something that both of them are interested in. As magic is becoming more readily available to people. The ability to cast the cantrip is spreading now to not just random chance, but people can actually train in it now. They can take classes in it that are actually successful and not just snake oil scams. So there's going to be a lot more people that are capable of adding magic to their repertoire. How do you want to, in this moment, kind of guide this? Do you want to support the creation of a Crimson Battle Mage unit within the Crimson Guard, or do you want to support the university in creating a university mage guard?
It's interesting because in the overview of it, the Crimson Guard so far has been investing basically in martial, and then they were headed toward this like bead reinforcement concept. So they didn't need magic because they got magic ATG style. And then the mages are mages. And when it comes down to it, they want to learn magic, and that's their focus, not other things. So it's fairly scholarly, or it's still, at the end of the day, it's still scholarly. It's very, we're learning how to do this. It's magic. What do you need the physical aspect for it all?
Yeah, that's very true. Like the mages primarily, and still, even with this idea, they're still thinking primarily that the mage guard would be a security force for the school, not necessarily the school's primary objective. The school would still be a place of higher learning, but they're recognizing that like some of the people that can cast the cantrip and then can't really get any further in their classes, they don't have to just like say, okay, well, you've learned all you can, go live your lives. They could have a second track for them, which is like, okay, well, now since you've gotten as far as you can with magic, apply your physical abilities and we can get you working as like a quasi-mercenary group that protects the school, protects its students, and protects the city, independently of the Crimson Guard, because the Crimson Guard are technically a mercenary organization that is hired by the city, so there's no reason there can't be another one.
But you're right. Shadowrun before my eyes.
What's that?
Becoming Shadowrun before my eyes. We got two different co-competing cop orgs.
Potentially. The Crimson Guard, though, have been doing this longer, and you're right that they've been using the marbles, the Applied Thaumaturgy Guild stuff, with success. So they do have more. They're further steps into this than the university is. In either situation, Crystalzar is going to have a lot of control over how that program develops. But it is sort of a choice. There's only one Crystalzar. The mages are not threatening to stop teaching you magic if you decide to go with the Crimson Guard, and the Crimson Guard are not threatening to stop teaching you or to strip you strip you of your rank or anything. This is very cordial. They're both working to serve the city. Neither organization they're not like the guilds. Neither one of them is out to make money. They're serving functions that they believe are worthy in and of themselves.
Yeah, I like to think that no matter what would get decided, Crystalzar will spend a majority of his time here, however long he's here, but like the majority of his time reminding people, you don't have to pick one. When they came to knock on the door, I just went and I said, I'll go to both. And I did. You can't really stop me. Because it was educational programs.
Is that the
that being
message
said,
you'd like to deliver to them, that they should both work together on this instead of having separate programs?
Yeah, that's kind of what he wants to introduce. Is they should have instead of like this focus you should do what is it, foreign exchange program? Like
Student
you should
exchange
train. Yeah, you should train
cross-disciplinary program.
Yeah, you should train your students martially at the Crimson Guard, and the Crimson Guard, the ones that show magic potential, you should send them to academy. And then
that way the students can decide based on what their particular organization that they do want to focus is. on, while also getting the benefits of their particular talents. That's pretty cool.
Yep. It will ever so slightly militarize the university, but yeah, that's a good option. Cool.
I mean, it was already gonna. One of those
I mean-
potentials was already gonna militarize the university. It sounds like the university was going to head that road no matter what, whether I was there or not.
The nation that they have their university built inside of is at war, so they're not really going to be able to escape that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vivian, Araxi has a lovely run-in with the head of your mercenary company, who has gotten an invitation to this fine celebration and dinner, and is really just happy to see you. Unlike many of these other students who've been like approached by people with like offers of grand futures, this person's just like, wow, this was the best investment I've ever made.
Araxi will kind of shrug it off a little bit, play it cool.
So, what do you want to do with your life, little one? Because, like, if you tell me you want to be a ship's captain, I have a boat that I will let you just hop in and go right now.
Ooh. So Araxi has always wanted to return to the Anu Isles and help basically them assert themselves as an independent nation themselves.
You have made this
But
guy
Araxi
so
can't
much...
answer that.
Oh, yeah.
Araxi can't tell this guy that because that's going to sound revolutionary.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a bit of a
It literally
choice.
is.
You have made this guy so much money in such a short period of time that he will just gift you a boat to go sail off and do whatever you want to do, no strings attached. But if you want to stick around, you have this sort of new second family growing in the form of this mercenary company in which you are a celebrity, you're extremely successful, extremely skilled,
Well respected.
very well respected, yeah. If you go to the Anu Isles, you're starting from scratch, but you are doing what you want to do, and you're starting at least with your own boat.
Yeah.
If you stick around, you have a support system around you that really seems to genuinely care about you.
Yeah. Ooh. This is tough.
And the thing is that this is the only home you've ever really known, isn't it? Like,
it's
you
not-
weren't hatched
It's not like
in
working
the
with
Anu
them.
Isles.
It's not like you'd never be able to go to the Isles, but it would be something where if you go as a representative of the Golden
Yeah.
Swift.
Araxi will turn to this guy and ask if will I be able to choose my own crew?
Yeah. He's at this point he's
All
not
right.
sure if you've agreed to go or stay, but the answer is yes either way.
Right. Araxi kind of like smiles and says, "I would like my own ship. I'm very appreciative of what you've done for me here. But I've always wanted my own ship and my own crew. And Araxi is going to probably in the future select her crew for her ship.
Awesome.
And also ask if Lorpin wants to return to the seas.
Well, what Lorpin says to that will be a tale for another time. Lorpin is a pretty old frog, but he does miss the salt.
He could be a quartermaster. It's
He
fine.
could. He'd have to be given less active duties, like a quartermaster. But yeah,
And quartermaster's technically second in command, so they'd get to work very closely with the captain of the ship.
yeah. There you go. Let's see. Alrighty, Ed. On a similar vein, Shari. Shari is being approached by a naval officer from that secret base you went to that one time and then went back to later when everyone was asleep. Shari's knowledge of Celebran and Corlanthe naval capabilities has been really useful. And they want to give Shari the option to become the first Celebran Games Master. They want her to create a kind of naval tabletop board game in which she bases the rules as closely and as accurately as she can on the real-life capabilities of the different ships that both Celebre and Corlanthe utilize to simulate conflicts and engagements, to help train up other potential captains to have those kinds of skills. If you decline, however, there are other opportunities within the fishing guild to just work down a track to captain your own ship and sail off into adventure as well.
Shari doesn't want to be a games master. She wants a ship.
Okay.
Yeah. So she will politely decline and go with go talk to the fishing guild.
The fishing guilds, they've liked you for as long as you've been out here. You're a good helmsman, good captain when you get the chance to pretend to be captain. And as she grows up, yeah, she can sail off into adventure. Let's see. Okay, Bax, Jackie. Bax has also done very well with the Crimson Guard. But you're sort of the head trainer that's been teaching you for most of this. Has a chance to sit down. They're pretty deep into their drink at this point, but they cheers your great victory. Day. Yeah. Well, and this is a good party. I mean, Grammy doesn't throw bad parties. She's got a reputation to maintain.
I love Grammy so much. She's the best.
Grammy is probably the second, or maybe third, depending best character that I came up with for this set. Yes, so Grammy is, I'm sorry, not Grammy, your sergeant, has been having a bit to drink, but is absolutely cheersing you and brings you over and says, you know, the Crimson Guard, we're not just strictly a military group. We're trainers. And part of that is a sort of a type of scholarship that's not often appreciated. But you have shown some excellent skills, and we're wondering if you would like to go out on an adventure. We don't have a particular one planned, but from time to time, members of our order just go out into the world to study fighting styles from other places around the world and bring them back and teach them. And you're starting to get to the end of what we can teach you in the basics, and you're starting to get to the point where you're either going to be staying here and picking a focus to really drill down on with one of the existing styles that we know, but you're young and you pick up stuff fast. This might be a great chance for you to go out into the world, become a hero, and learn some new styles to bring back and teach us. So
Bax has an answer to this question already.
All right.
I only have one teacher that I want.
Who is that?
I'm not sure if you're in a position to do it, but if you can put a good word in with Callista for me.
Okay. I mean, you're right. I don't have any authority over her, but I'm pretty sure no one does.
Yeah,
You know
I'll
what?
ask her myself, but that's the only teacher I want.
You know what?
No offense. I
I-
really deeply appreciate everything I've learned from the Crimson Academy.
He looks over at her and he says, I'll bet that if I go and have some drinks with her, we can have a good conversation about this.
She did see me in battle, Bax shyly says.
And an hour later, you find him passed out under a table. There's a pile.
Oh god, no, yeah.
Yeah. Pile of empty
There's no
glasses,
way.
and Callista's just smiling.
Instead of like meekly approaching, I'm gonna with the most courage I can muster, puff up my chest, walk over to Callista and be like, "Excuse me, I'd love to be your student."
Callista looks at you and says, very well. I shall teach you the ways of the spear and the bow. That's it.
Nice.
Her yes
Sick.
is very simple.
I mean, she did see me split a tree troll man in half, like an explosion with my sword. So that's probably like, yeah, it was pretty cool for a kid.
It's like, now I just got to teach you to use the real weapons.
Oh my god, Bax's eyes are gonna sparkle with delight.
And
Can you show me how to become huge?
exercise. And drink your milk. And she agrees to teach you. You do see that she is spending a lot of time with Mrs. Burtail. And having gone over to have this interaction, you find out that when everybody came back up, she found out that the Burtail children had been telling their mother about how Callista had saved them from the troll on the road in the town as you guys were making your way to the university. And so Mrs. Burtail has been being extra nice to Callista, and Callista is being Callista, and it looks like those two might be an item now.
I'm gonna go find an emoji, like a screaming happiness emoji. That shit's cute that's so cute.
Alrighty. I'm marking down in my notes what your final decisions were, but I do encourage everyone to also mark it on your character sheets as something to use for future adventure hooks. Moving on. Kristen and Vivian. We're going to do Zara and Nest together. Because both of them are seers. And both of them at this party, as the party gets sort of on into the evening, you both start seeing sort of visions of the future. Not like hard dream visions, but this sort of soft idea that there is a road. There's a series of footsteps that travel north. And you sort of get this sense that, like, someday you're supposed to follow these footsteps. And you're not sure when, necessarily. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's next year. But these footsteps are your footsteps. And they take you north. They take you through the Troll Mountains, across the Middle Kingdoms, through Thoradil, into Talus. And then they turn west to Soulport and to a boat that sails you to islands beyond. The islands of Thay, where you see libraries filled with books, histories and scholars examining and writing, and a great dragon made of crystal, who does not sit upon a hoard, but walks between the aisles of books, reading, perusing, conversing with the scholars. This is the nation of Thay, and this is your destiny, your future, if you want it to be. Miss Maybell comes up behind you, kind of seeing the visions, and she kneels down and says, I know you've both spoken to Sigurd through the glasses. I know that Sigurd has offered you an alternative to your future with Thay. And I am not a seer, nor a magic user, nor do I have much knowledge of such things, but I can tell you this right now. Your decisions are your own. If you want to go to Thay, you can go to Thay. If you want to go to Sigurd, you can go to Sigurd. And if you don't want to do either, there are plenty of other ways that your talents can be used. Thay, no doubt, wants to use your talents for their scholastic, esoteric purposes. Sigurd will want to use them for her purposes. Although, I got a feeling from Sigurd that Sigurd kind of likes freedom, and maybe would want you to use them for your own purposes. But there is a third option, which is to use them for somebody else's purposes who's not commanding you, who doesn't need you to or want you to, but has their own problems. And here in the city, there are plenty of people that could use the help.
We could become the city fortune teller.
You could. You could help me. I could always use help running the orphanage. And even as you grow up, more children will come about. Excuse me just a moment. Cats are fighting. You two... Ow. Hey, go on. Go on. Let her pass. Let her pass. No. Hey. No. Don't do that. Oh. Sorry about that. Okay. Have you guys had a moment to think about your futures and what you'd like to do?
This is particularly hard for Nest, I think.
It's hard for Zara as well. She's kind of like indecisive child. She's like, I want to do all three. But she's going to have to pick one, of course. So I'm thinking what might be the best one for her.
It sounds like that both Sigurd and staying here are choices you can make that you can unmake whenever you want. But going to Thay might be a one-way road, where once you do that, you can't get back out again.
I don't know if Zara could make that choice. So Zara's going to ask Miss Maybell, like, what would it be like at Thay? Like, why would I want to go there? That seems like giving up a lot.
She says, I honestly don't know. I know very little about them. I know that they're scholars who study history, and they have a huge library that they don't let anyone look at.
Zara does love books.
So does Nest.
So they have the actual largest library in the West.
Yeah.
And this is the order that Sigurd comes from, right?
Correct.
Yes. Sigurd sort of escaped from them. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Sigurd was from there. So Sigurd is an example of someone who did get away.
Yep.
Yeah, there have been two in all of history.
Yeah.
Which is a really long time.
And the entirety of
escape.
this entire world's multi-thousand-year history, 2 have gotten out.
And there's always the question about whether you escaped or that was just, or you're just let go.
It was my destiny.
Or did they let you out because it's part of a plan they're executing?
Yeah, maybe they need you to be part of the causal chain of events, right? In order to gain some other end. To make sure history happens the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, except they've been notoriously bad at that.
Faye's mostly concerned with making history not happen the way it's supposed to. That's been their main thing.
We've talked about like the 2 people that escaped. The first one that escaped accidentally set the universe in a direction of an apocalypse, and the second one who escaped fixed that, potentially, but they're not sure yet what the next apocalypse might be, so...
Sigur's also the reason that the southern people came north, so it's the reason that Kite's in the north, also the reason that Apthis exists.
Yeah, the war with Apthis would not be happening if Sigur had not escaped. But arguably the moon would be falling.
Correct, yeah. I mean, you gotta pick and choose, you know. Pick and choose your buck.
They're either playing like a much higher dimensional chess than everyone else, or they are desperately scrambling to avoid the next disaster by the skin of their teeth. One of those is true. Maybe both are true.
This is a hard choice, but I think Zara is going to go to the island of Thay.
Okay.
And Nest is going to go back into that vision and kind of within that vision go and erase the footprints.
Okay.
And stay in Celebre.
Very good.
With Miss Mabel at the orphanage. Nest will also cry at night for the next 3 days straight.
If you're meant for Thay, you'll go.
Okay. Zara went to the... All right. All right. Tice. Kyleel. Kyleel also has some thinking to do, because Kyleel is finding out from conversations that when the moon Somnus fell on Apthis, it did not kill all the people that were in Apthis. The entire city's civilian population was teleported to somewhere in the Middle Kingdoms, just south of Thordil. There's a huge refugee camp there, the size of a city, with massive logistical efforts going into keeping them fed and housed and such. It's quite a mess up there, from what the people have been saying. Like the sheer amount of effort that's needed to go into like not having all these people suddenly starve to death because they're cut off from their city. But they are alive, which might mean your parents are alive. Would Kyleel like to go there? Because here's the crazy thing. While those are the Apthian civilians, their gods are not there. All of their gods, all the war that has been brought is still in Apthis, getting ready to march out of the smoldering ruins of their country and exact their revenge on the rest of the world. Would Kyleel like to find some people that are involved in that effort and maybe head to the Apthian refugees and try and find your parents, or try and just help out? Or do you want to remain here in Celebre and potentially help Celebre prepare for the war against the Apthian gods that your parents sent you here to save you from?
I think he will send a letter to the refugees to see if his family's there, but he'll be like saying like I'm going to be staying in Sleeper like where he sent me and stuff to ensure that I can help more people like you out of the country, or to like prevent prevent the stuff from happening to them, like how you prevented me from being not perform the ritual on, or even a way to reverse the ritual.
Okay. You'll remain in the city, but you'll send your letter. Awesome. Troy. Mina has a bit of a choice here too. Mina's design is awesome, and definitely the Celebran Navy is interested in that design. It demonstrated itself quite well this previous morning, right? But if you start mass producing these ships, you're going to be spending most of your life on the docks. Manufacturing, designing, but not necessarily sailing your own ship. You have enough influence in this moment and celebrity status that you could insist on having your own department where you develop one incredible super ship instead of a fleet of pretty nice advanced ships, but not as good as you could make it if you focused all your attention on just one ship. Troy, are you there? Okay.
I'm trying to understand the difference at the moment.
If you stay on the docks and start helping them manufacture a fleet of ships, it will change the city. The city will now have a fleet of these mechanized propeller-driven ships that are reliant on magic, but can do things that normal sailing ships cannot do. If you choose to focus on your own ship, then you will personally have a ship that's even more advanced than those, but you'll be the only one. You could potentially, with that ship, do even greater things, but it would have to be you doing them. No one else would be able to maintain the ship at the degree of complexity that you would put upon it.
We've already seen I can make a ship, but I can't drive it. Drive it? Sail it? There's no sails?
Pilot it.
Pilot it.
It's basically, do you introduce tanks to 14th century warfare, or do you build yourself an Iron Man suit to 14th century warfare?
I mean, part of me is like, why can't I build schematics and then just keep building better and better schematics?
If you are not taking the boat out personally, then you're not going to really understand fully how your stuff is operating, which means you're going to have to build for a wider degree of error. So your schematics are not going to be as effective if you're not personally out there overseeing everything. And if your schematics are generalists, then everybody can execute on them. But as you specialize and make them super specific, you're going to be the only one who even understands them.
This is mean.
Do you get an office, or do you get a captain's chair?
I feel like I'm in either regard. I'm not. I'm doing the same thing. I'm either helping make a bunch of ships, or in the other one, I'm making a super ship, but I'm not so much a captain.
You could be if you wanted to. You can leverage your celebrity right now to become a captain of that ship.
Well, I understand that, like if I'm creating my own ship and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's hard to put.
What does Mina want in this moment?
Yeah, it's hard to put what she would do into the right thing, because it's like she would want to just keep going and keep inventing, but if she makes more of something, it's just a different angle.
Yeah, at that point you're developing logistics, not improving the ship per se. But then the issue is scalability, right? Do you want one super souped up ship that only you know how to do because it's a fucking crazy piece of engineering that only you understand, or do you want a fleet of what you've already made, which is super sick? I think that's really the choice. That's really
Yep. Even now, workers are recovering the pieces of your ship and bringing them back up a bit at a time. It was good technology. It innovated.
I press the button that blows up every part of my ship. No. If we were actually playing as Azafu, that's what would have happened. Do not touch the pieces of my ship.
Which is very much the mentality of building your own. Become the captain of your own ship, make that ship unbelievably badass, and it's your ship, and no one else has control of it.
remember in Mad Max how Furiosa has her truck set up. It would be like that, where only you could run it because only you know the correct sequence of shit to do.
Well, the funny thing here is that, like, for the Azafu track, is he always built shit that no one else knew how to do, like, use, and then eventually everyone stole his shit. But also, he still went back to the war effort and built all these things for everybody to use. Like, he built tanks, and everyone used tanks. And so he did bring tanks to warfare.
And rifles are now a thing on Talus. And we're even seeing some magical rifles start to enter the field of battle coming out of Azafu and Pyram's workshop. So Azafu knows how to make the rifles, and Pyram knows how to enchant them. And between the two of them, they can make these really crazy weapons. For little Mina, though, whose brain has conjured a new era of ship requirements, ships powered by magic itself. Is this something Mina wants to help the whole city have, or is this something Mina wants to focus on for herself?
I think there might be a middle ground. But it still lends more toward the multi. It helps the city, but it's something we talked about in that maybe I'm not designing a super ship, but I designed a ship and it used the beads to do like force blasts, essentially, right? With the power fireballs.
Magic cannon.
My magic cannons. But Mina knows that wasn't the only route to go with those. And so it's not necessarily making a super ship, but she can make different ships. And she wants to know how many different ships she can make.
Okay.
In order to do that, she needs to work with the city to make a shit ton of ships.
She can iterate on different aspects of the ships. Like, this one can do this. This one's a fucking submarine. Like,
And there's more in that than making a super ship that's this amazing, all-powerful ship, to making these different ships that have different magic capabilities, which means they need different designs on the ship to handle whatever the capability of the cannons are.
And
There's more
that's
to
awesome. That is really just a particular flavor of what is fundamentally the desk job option. So, yeah, 100%.
I mean, she's an engineer behind the scenes. That's basically what. She doesn't need the ship. She wants to make shit. Either way, she gets to make shit. I understand that, but she gets to make more shit.
Coming back to Ed, Mari is also quite capable of making cool shit. And Mari is approached by some of the ambassadors that represent Celebre to other nations around the world. And they have with them some special ambassadors that they've invited over from Thordil, that they've been having long conversations with, and they would very much like to sit down with Mari and talk about her sonomancy training.
Yeah, Mari's down for going to sonomancy training. As long as she doesn't have to go back into Thordil, she's good.
Well, that is the question they want to put before you. Both countries are very interested in the continued development of sonomancy. It's very useful and neat, and she's quite good at it. But she's currently being trained by a bard that has not the best grasp of it. They would like to get a proper Thordil tutor up here to teach her, or invite her to go and visit and live in Thordil and train with the teachers in Thordil. They've clearly come to some agreement that no matter which way you choose, they're going to be making some kind of trade deal that balances things out, because both of them want you to be present in their city. Thordil clearly has offered some stuff that's very attractive to Celebre in terms of trading privileges, to have you basically leave Celebre's custody and be a Thordil resident once again. And at the same time, Celebre has offered some very enticing things to Thordil to send a proper teacher up here to train you. But the choice is yours.
Mari's not interested in going back underground, but she is interested in sonomancy, so she'll happily take the training.
Alrighty. Mari remains in Celebre with an actual proper trainer, and the halfling bard returns to the moon. He knew a bit about it, but he's not going to be able to teach you the way this guy is, and this guy will be able to really open up her training. Leica! Jackie, Radico is here at the party, along with Callista, of course, because there's no way for them to stop that, and Grammy likes him, because he's a good bard.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a lute whenever he's around, and she doesn't have to pay him. That's the best kind of bard.
Indeed.
When Leica encounters Radico, Radico stops playing for a moment to wave you over and says, I heard about what happened. You were a bard. A proper Faithanok bard. It's incredible. I'm so proud of you. Do you want to continue to train in that as a solid thing? Because I know you were also spending time at the university, and I want you to know that you can very easily split your studies between studying with me and studying magic. Where I come from, the bards have not utilized magic. There's always been sort of a barrier between the two, that they've never quite mixed right. I don't know if you've solved that or not, but I just want you to know, there's no contingencies with me. You can come train with me whenever you want, no matter what else is going on in your life.
Leica looks overjoyed at, first and foremost, the praise, and secondly, the invitation. They do want to continue studying under the Faithanok bard.
Do you plan to make that something that's full-time, or do you want to split it and be this little hybrid Arcana bard? Or do you want to go all in on the psychic, god crafting stuff?
I'm really torn, you know. I think really at the end of the day, what I really want is more bard action. So I don't know. It would be like a major in Faith and Bard studies and a minor in academic magic studies. I'm interested in it, but my focus would be more. I'd have a more niche major, you know.
Oh,
But if I have to choose, it would definitely be the bard route, a more dedicated bard route, because there's options for like more performance, more persuasion, more propriety.
Sounds good. I'm going to quickly try and catch up on what Kristen just wrote here.
Oh, I was just taking some. I put it in my notes for the character, but just extra notes on the character's motivations and future plan.
Okay, yeah, that all sounds good. Tice does bring up a good question there. Does Leica have a hero that she wants to follow, or is that something you'll be on the lookout for in future adventures?
I mean, yes and no. My thought is that Bax is a good candidate for. You know, they literally did that just now. Like, they are literally childhood friends at this point, and so could become like adventuring buddies.
That's a great combination.
The other option is to seek a different hero to study under, of course, but or to rather be a partner to, I guess. Aid to a hero's aid, you know. I feel like that's what the birds really do. They help out the heroes.
Then let's go back to Kristen and talk about Henri. My notes for all the different choices you guys have here are filling my sheet, but for Henri, I just have written, the notion of choice is not what it appears to be in Nui Rises. What is Henri feeling in this moment of camaraderie with the found family that they have here? And is Henri ready to open a portal and walk away?
Yeah, I'm inclined to like Henri was already kind of like a loner all along. That was kind of my thoughts for this character. He was always a little bit disconnected, and then his going down the path of becoming a warlock for Anui has like caused him to lean even harder into that, like feeling a little just disconnected from the world. Yeah, I think that he's drawn to just opening up a portal and going to the moon and like leaning hard into the being a warlock of for Anui and whatever that means. In service of the Moon King.
Traditional warlocks would have made some kind of a deal with some supernatural entity. In the case of demons, they just demand that you tithe them the souls that they desire. With devils, they want to make deals and contracts that they abide by. With far realm entities, it's mostly just hunger and insanity. And Anui is a far realm entity, but Anui has somehow gotten around the whole hunger insanity issue by dwelling within this powered-up human body spacesuit thing that he's built. Anui's needs and desires are deeply difficult to grasp, but they do exist, and they're not impossible to grasp. This isn't like a Lovecraftian Cthulhu thing where it's just like, it's beyond mortal comprehension. It is comprehensible. It's just very, very alien. If you want to have Anre study with Inui and try to learn to understand Inui's motivations, that is an option, and that is probably best done on the moon. You're the least likely to harm innocent civilians that way. But you can also go around the world adventuring. The portals thing opens stuff up quite a bit. It's going to be hard to control. Technically, you're not the one opening the portal. You're asking for a favor, and as you're going to learn, Inui doesn't always interpret your words the way you wanted him to. Yeah, you can also go out in the world, observe things, and try and understand how Inui is looking at things. And through trial and error with your spells, start to get a grasp on, like, how are your words going to be interpreted? What are the deeper mysteries here? Because Inui's not here for no reason. There definitely are reasons why every single little thing that he's doing is happening. And you start to, like, really get a sense that Inui is playing one of those higher level chess games. Multi-dimensional stuff going on with, like, timelines and looped histories. There's some definite weirdness going on that Anre can explore. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So I guess the real question for Anre is, does Anre stay here at the party, or does Anre walk away?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to walk away. It's a matter of, like, I guess what he does from there. I do like the idea of him, like, exploring, like, better understanding the logic of the Moon King, with the aim towards maybe that being for his own gain, I guess, so that he doesn't end up making deals he doesn't, that would be detrimental to him, or that he wouldn't want to make when he's asking for things, quote unquote. So yeah, I don't know, maybe from I'm not sure exactly what the best way to study that would be. Maybe it is, like you said, just testing out the different bits of, requests and seeing what, like taking note of that and, like, basically just cataloging all of it and using that to kind of calculate some sort of equation of what he thinks, like, figure out what the Inui equation is.
And maybe that's something we don't find out tonight. Maybe that's something we find out in a future adventure where a portal opens and Anre steps through and joins the adventuring party for their own purposes. It doesn't have to be decided tonight. But what would be decided tonight is there anybody you go and say goodbye to before you leave?
I think he'll just disappear.
Okay.
He did have connections with certain people here and there, but, like, for the most part, he kind of kept to himself. So
it's really interesting because literally this could be the thing that triggers the twins the triplets to eventually come back and be like, where did Henri go?
Our first
we could guess. We could have a pretty good guess. But
You open the portal and arrive on the moon. And the Moon King is there on his throne, just kind of not paying attention to you. Because the Moon King doesn't need eyes to see you. But there is, on a little table in front of you, a little letter. And the letter is from Miss Maybell, and it's her essentially saying, I understand, I'm proud of you, and good luck on your journeys. How she knew to leave that on the moon, you have no idea.
Because she's your mom.
Yeah, he will fold up the letter and keep it.
Troy Kofrick is getting a very similar invitation that Mari got, but not just from Thordil, but pretty much every ambassador from everywhere that's getting involved in this war is interested in just acquiring people with medical technology. medicine is going to be what limits casualties in this oncoming war, and everybody wants a piece of that. You have your choice of deployments. You can be a medical doctor for literally any of the militaries that are going forward, or you can stay in a city and develop medical technologies for any of the associated nations. Obviously, Celebre has sort of a claim to you right now, but just like with Mari's situation, the diplomats are all there ready to make offers to the Celebran government to rent out your expertise in their own cities for a time. None of them seem to have as good a setup for an orphanage to sort of house you, and none of them have anyone that's like a parent figure the way Miss Maybell is. It would be much more like an internship, like a live-at-work internship, if you take one of those options. But they are there for you.
I see. I think it would be a question of who would have the best setup for actually developing the medical things.
The largest library of medical knowledge would be in Garathan, in the nation of Talus. The largest collection of resources to build whatever you develop would be here in Celebre. And since Trompy is also going to Garathan, you wouldn't necessarily be alone in Garathan if you went there.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things of you could build better things if you had the knowledge beforehand.
You're going to roll more dice on your blueprint development in Garathan, and you're going to roll more dice on your manufacturing process in Celebre.
Yeah, I think it might be one of those things where he saw the potential of innovation and such, and so the higher point of innovation, if that's an option, is going to Garathan. Is that the way to think about it?
Yep.
The more you can build more and better things that other people can then eventually build. That's the route he would go.
All right. And then the last one that we haven't done is Glup. Glup, Pinkle says, why don't you take a break? Head on up to the roof. Just relax for a little bit. And Pinkle continues to mind your coat rack money-making scheme. But up on the roof, as you look down and you see everybody sort of making their plans, it seems like the private investigation agency might not be starting off right away after all. It might be that something that comes together in years later. As the triplets are all going off to completely different cities, and some of them not even to cities, to just places in the wilderness. But you do see the sort of the family that you have. And then you realize there's somebody sitting next to you. And it's the head of the training group for the Wolf Den, for the Thieves Guild. And they say to you, we never really gave up on you. We just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see what it is you would be giving up if you came with us. Obviously, we could have trained you to not make the decisions we didn't like when we saw you making decisions we didn't like. That wasn't really an issue. Our issue was that you were going down the path too eagerly. But you've had time now. Time to develop, time to start your little private investigation group, or not. I can promise you, though, some of them will be coming back. That idea hasn't gone away. And this is the real choice for you right now. Because the reason we do what we do is that we think this, and he gestures down to the gathered communities, is we think this is worth protecting because it's worth having. And we don't want to take this away from you if you're not ready to leave it. In the end, the choice is yours. If you come with us, you're leaving this behind. But we will train you to protect it so that those who don't leave it behind will always have it safe and here in Celebre. Before you have a chance to speak, you feel a hand on your other shoulder, and you look to the other side of you to see Miss Maybell sitting on the roof next to you. Looking down, you could have sworn you had just seen her on the ground below with her arm in arm with Coddle, smoozing with the various diplomats. Looking, you see Coddle is still down there, and he doesn't seem to notice she's missing. But there she is next to you, and she says, "Whatever you decide, I want you to know my favorite rule of the Wolf Den. It's the rule of exceptions. Never give away your secret identity, except when you think it'll help. Never blow your cover to a person that you're close to, except when you feel like they need it." And again, she squeezes your shoulder. And then she says, "And never come home again unless you really need to." Whatever this man says, you're not going to be gone forever. But the choice is still yours, but you'll always have a home here. And she lets go of your arm, and you look up at her, and you look back down to where Coddle is, and by the time you look back to her again, she's gone. You find her next to Coddle, arm in arm again, down in the crowd. The head of Wolfden is still there, if you want to join it.
Seeing all the people here, I'm happy that we're able to keep them safe. Before I go, could I offer you to have a bowl of ice cream?
He says, "I would love a bowl of ice cream. Let's go down the back so no one sees us. I don't want anybody seeing us jumping off the roof."
Okay.
So the two of you stealth back up, down the back and get some ice cream, and then I take it Glup is then going to join the Wolf Den?
Yeah.
All right. And so now we know sort of where everybody is going off to. Weeks and then months pass. The children start doing their new things. And a time comes where Miss Maybell is ready to take a trip north to visit Pelladia and to bring Pelladia Sapper's ashes. Nest will be going with her?
I assume so. I imagine that Nest has been working under Miss Mabel this whole time.
Fair enough. Will Wampy be going with them, or is Wampy already up there?
Wampy, I think Wampy is already up there.
Okay. So yeah, you pack up, you head out. And as you're traveling outside of the city with Miss Maybell, you start to really notice a change in her. All that like properness, all that propriety that she has sort of fades, and you start to see something more of a rogue, something more of a an agile, hiding in the night, stealthing through. Like, she walks without leaving footprints, not through magic, but just through skill. And she travels with you through the woods without compass or guide. She knows the way. And it takes a couple weeks of camping and being out in nature, but you eventually come to Palladia's Grove. You somehow get past without actually encountering Wampy, although Wampy will have plenty of opportunity to come visit Palladia. But she brings you up to the tree. She says, it's time to let you in on the last of my secrets. I'm not an orphan. My parents are alive. I secreted them away and hid them here. Probably saved their life, considering what happened, but I anticipated the attack that was coming, and Palladia has been taking care of them in the building that used to be her orphanage here. She takes the ashes over to the tree, and a little, like, kind of grave marker rises up out of the earth, roots pulling it up as Palladia makes a place for the ashes to be poured into the soil. So Miss Mabel does give her apologies to Palladia. It's like, I'm sorry that he couldn't be saved. I'm sorry that he chose this path. You don't really hear the reply. You're not a druid. But then Miss Maybell introduces you to Palladia. Says, this is Nest. And Nest has a lot that Nest needs to learn. And a glow appears on the ground in a great circle, and roots rise up and form a little table and little chairs. The table looks like the kind of table you would play card games on or board games. And Miss Maybell goes over to a little chest of things that she keeps here out by the tree. She opens the chest and she says, have a seat. This is a zone of truth. Inside this area, you cannot tell a lie. And she takes out of the chest a ball and she shows it to you and says, this is red. And she puts the ball in your hand and then moves your hand behind your back so the ball is hidden. And she says, now here in this zone of truth, convince me that the ball is blue. What do you want to do?
Ooh. Well. Oh, this. We cannot lie. So. Ooh.
Your future sense starts tugging at you a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities branching out from this point. And having erased your previous, like, linear path, you now have access to multiple potential futures in your sight.
Ness is going to stay quiet and kind of ponder the question for a bit.
Pondering the question, you think to yourself, it's entirely possible that Miss Maybell palmed a different ball into your hand.
Yeah.
What would happen if you were to just say the ball is blue? Would the magic stop you? And in your future sight, you see a future where you just say the ball is blue. And you feel your consciousness drift into that future to explore it. And then that version of you takes the ball and puts it on the table. And as you open your hand to put it down, you see the ball is red. And the history behind you breaks because you can't have said that the ball was blue if it wasn't.
Yeah.
and that it shatters and you find yourself trapped in a future that isn't going to exist. You can't get back to your reality. The bridge is gone. You start to feel that reality fading as it's impossible. It's going to delete from existence and you're going to go with it. And the ball on the table rolls and you see that it's blue on one half and red on the other. The bridge reforms, you reconnect, you flow back into your body. You still have the ball held behind your back.
All right. She's going to. Whew. Whew. Feeling through this ball, there's no like magical energy coming off this. This is just
None
an
at all.
authentic ball. Right.
It's a magician's trick ball that's just got a different color on the other side.
Yeah. Nest does not have sleight of hand, but Nest does have magic. And Nest is going to, as she continues scanning the futures and all the different futures, she is going to choose a future where the ball is just blue. Completely. And turn it behind her back so it's completely blue. Hopefully. I assume I have to roll for this.
Yeah.
Place it on the table and say there is... Hopefully. Assuming that this rolls.
She smiles. She says, I hope that was educational for you. I may not have magic. I may not have future sight. But I am very good at strategy. And I have seen the layout. I've seen the cards dealt to the world. Not as literal cards, but as conceptions. Something bad is coming. Really bad. And for some reason, orphans are the key. We'll keep training here for a bit, but when we get back to Celebre, you need to keep all this a secret. And we're going to use this training to try and find a way through whatever this is that's coming. Agreed?
That's not said. Says, I agree.
All right. Let's continue your training. And you do. And that is where we are going to end. Did anybody have anything else that they wanted to add to the end of this before we close down and leave these characters to be picked up in future adventures and future stories?
There's absolutely no pressure on you, Ed, here. But Araxi would offer Shari basically to be her first mate on her ship.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Shari is interested.
Yeah, Shari.
If Shari would prefer to stay with the fishing guild, that's totally fine, but...
Shari's interested in being a captain on a non-warship.
Whoa.
I think Araxi's getting into non-combat, but...
Yeah, Araxi's is definitely a warship.
I need a ship tester. Let's not get crazy here.
I just saw that as it went, that Araxi would put that offer out. It'd be very upfront, this is a navy, this is a naval ship here. But I figured as they both spent time doing a lot of stuff together at the fishing guild, and also they literally lived in a mud hut for a bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Shari will take you up on your offer. She's not interested in being on a warship, but it is a ship bound for adventure, right? It's a naval ship, but you're going to...
I'm not going to war. Araxi's not immediately going to war.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be in the Navy.
Yeah.
And you could teach people how to drive or how to pilot ships. Like that's not going to war.
Sounds
That's
like
sending other people to war.
sounds like some contested persuasion rolls going down there.
Yeah. Shari's she's not a war person, really. She's more a high seas adventure person. But what you're doing is effectively just like commandeering the ship and going off to go start a revolution with the Anu or something.
Essentially, that's what
Char is
Araxes-
totally on board for that. Yeah, that's buccaneering. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
Alrighty. Sailing off to adventure. The children have mostly scattered around the world, or around the West, but yeah, this is, I think, a good setup for whatever... We've got hooks for all over the place now for whatever we want to do next. Thank you, everybody, for being good players. This has been a lot of fun for me. I am looking forward to taking a break from GMing for a little while.
Thank you. This was a solid campaign.
Thank you. It was a lot of work to put together and a lot of work to keep running as you guys made some wild decisions, but I'm really happy with how it all turned out, and yeah, I hope you guys are happy with where your characters ended up.
Yeah, I never.
What?
What was that?
I never expected Miss Mabel to be a wolf.
That's the thing about being in Wolf Clan. You can't let people expect it.
Quick, like mechanics question: can we like say that at some point we repaired our gear, or got our gear repaired before we all set
yeah.
out into the world?
I mean, whatever new adventure you do, you'll be starting fresh. Like, there'll be no tax on your gear and stuff. Yeah, it'll be...
In that case, I'm just clearing all my tax because there's a lot of it.
We went from going like day by day to like going month by month.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the day by day like excitement, like whether or not you have time to repair your gear is a big deal. Month by month, like yeah, your gear is repaired, not a problem.
Like how you're worried about your gear getting repaired, and I'm worried about how many ships I've made so far.
It was more of a question for Whompy because, like, Whompy just set off into the wilderness with a broken staff. I didn't want that too.
Yeah, I didn't expect the whole thing for Glup. Even I didn't realize that the wolf was still watching.
Wolf is always watching. It's just that no one can be aware that Wolf is always watching.
Yeah, I wonder what caused them to change their mind about like inviting Glup or not.
Nothing. They never thought that Glup was a bad candidate. They just wanted to make sure that Glup was really... Because Glup was starting to show self-interest a little bit. Like, and they were concerned about how eager Glup was to be in Wolf Clan. And so they decided that instead of what they would normally do to recruit, which is just correct the behavior and move on, they decided to give Glup an opportunity to see what they would be missing. Fundamentally, they're not, like, evil people. They're...
No, but as a operative of the Wolf Clan, they don't have friends. They don't have people. They don't have family, friends, loved ones, like a domestic life. None of that shit. So,
except when they do. The rule of
I
exception.
mean, except when they do, of course. But like, you know, obviously, like you can go on adventures, but like it's complicated by your position.
like your entire life could be being a no-name bureaucrat in another country and never moving from that, but you had to be there because what if they needed you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the research to come out for the gloves of, was it spell share? You said.
Yes, spell sharing. Gloves of spell sharing. That's going to be a cool little addition to the Celebran repertoire. Alrighty, well, thank you everybody for a wonderful adventure, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll, yeah, when a new adventure is ready, we'll start up again. I think, Ed, you're going to be running the next one?
Yeah, I was planning on running something probably in the new year.
Sounds great. Have a good night.